I'm here with.
Heaven Caveman.
How old are you and what do you do for a living?
I am 29 and I am a real estate agent.
What were you taught growing up about money?
I was taught to go to school, get a good education, save your money, and buy a house, and keep your credit good.
Do you feel that you followed through on all those things?
No, I didn't, because the path that I chose didn't require much school. Did a lot of self-education, and I'm a real estate agent, which is literally it's like a college course now.
So what about the saving part?
I've invested money in the past. I'm currently saving right now to invest, but these days you need to invest in order to move forward in life.
So when did you start earning money and what do you think prevented you from saving your money?
Well, I got my first job when I was in grade 11, so I was in high school. Growing up, I was always really good at doing interviews, so it was very easy for me to find jobs. So I would just kind of job hop. So money was always there. So I never really had the importance of saving. There were times where I did save money. I put things aside, but mainly, honestly, just like a lot of people, I was just kind of just living off my paychecks and spent a lot of money on cars back in the day. So that's where my money went.
Do you think you have to own where you live to build wealth?
I don't think you need to own where you live to build wealth. As long as you're investing it into other avenues, whether it's either you're investing into yourself to produce higher income, or whether you're buying stocks or any other sort of good investment. For the average person, unfortunately, that's not what they do. So in that case, I would highly recommend purchasing your home that you're living in, mainly because you're going to be paying rent somewhere anyway, so you might as well put that back into your pocket by paying down your house. And obviously in the GTA, our appreciation is absolutely insane. So year over year, on a long-term scale, you will make money.
So what do you think is the biggest reason why more people don't save their money?
I'm gonna speak on Toronto. Toronto, the cost of living is absolutely insane, especially right now. Grocery costs are consistently going up, fuel prices are consistently going up, and our real estate prices are consistently going up, whether it's buying a house or renting a house. So I think right now it's harder than ever for Canadians to save. So I think that's the reason.
So what about behavior-wise?
Oh, behavior-wise, honestly, I feel like there's literally little to no financial education in our education system. I think the Canadian government just passed something recently where they are going to introduce financial literacy into the classroom, but for our generation, there's literally next to no financial literacy. The fact that we have students leaving high school or even university and not knowing how to write a check is very concerning, right? So there's next to no financial literacy, and I feel like if that was a little bit more mainstream, there'll be a lot more savers and investors.
So how old were you when you learned what a credit score is? And do you think having a good credit score is important, and why?
So I first heard of a credit score, I think it was in high school. And I think it was my mom, and she just briefly said, you have to have good credit. But she never really went deep into why you should have good credit. I started looking more into credit end of high school when I started to make a little bit more and I was thinking about the future.
Why is it important to have a good credit score? Based on what you've learned.
Like I said, this country is very expensive to live in, so everything that you need to do is through debt, unfortunately. If you want to buy a house, unless you plan on saving $1 million, you're not going to buy a house. So if you want to buy a house, you need debt. If you need a line of credits, if you want to start a business, you want to get a business loan, you need good credit. If you have any crazy ideas that you want to expand on, you need some money to get going, most likely you're going to need a line of credit. For that, you need good credit. Certain types of insurance, believe it or not, home insurance. If you have bad credit, your rates are actually higher. Even if you're not looking to buy a house, if you wanted to rent a house, if you have bad credit, you're not getting a place unless it's an inexperienced landlord and they're not looking at credit. But yeah, honestly, credit is everything. Even if you want to buy a new cell phone, you need good credit, right? So credit is, in the Western world, credit is everything.
So in your opinion, what is a good credit score? What's considered a good credit score?
700 plus.
Where did you learn the most about personal finance? And what was the single piece of information that you learned that's impacted you the most?
I would say the biggest place that I learned about personal finance was through YouTube. I think Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Think and Grow Rich is what really kind of laid the foundation down for me. Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I learned was having a savings account. Because I'm a pretty ambitious guy, so I previously have invested into stocks and different investments where I wasn't too familiar with it, and I've lost my money, and I've been in situations where I didn't have a savings account. It's always good to have your savings first and then go start investing your money. Because you honestly, as comfortable as you are and as safe as you think you are, you never know what's going to happen. I'll tell you that.
So do you have a budget, and when did you start implementing a budget in your life?
I do have a budget, and I actually started implementing it not that long ago, to be honest.
So how has your budget impacted your spending, and what was your spending like before you implemented a budget?
So I took a large leap into entrepreneurship. So my cash flow previously was kind of like up and down. So that's why I did not have a budget. Now that my cash flow is a little bit more consistent, I've been able to kind of have a fixed budget. And because I'm commission only now, you really need those budgets to be able to spread out your commissions equally without running dry ever.
Tell us your biggest money mistake you've ever made.
I feel like I have two really big money mistakes. The first one is not having a proper savings, like not having regular contributions. And because of that, I was in situations where I didn't have any cash coming in and I didn't have any savings and I had my back against the wall. So never doing that again. So 100% like I learned to have savings. Yeah, number two is racking up my credit cards and just paying the minimum payment. I've been in situations where I had to live literally the same situation that I just mentioned earlier. I had to live off my my credit cards and I had to basically live off debt. And because of that, and I had no income coming in. Yeah, so I was making minimum payments on all of my loans, and the loan amount was going up. And when I realized that the loan amount was going up, I was like really, really stressed out, and it actually did take a big toll on me. So yeah, never want to be in that position again. And now I'm saving money and paying my debts.
So you didn't learn about credit cards or minimum payments or paying off the entire balance when you were younger?
For me, it was just, yeah, make sure you always pay your credit card. It wasn't anything, it didn't, like, my parents didn't really go deep into it, which I'm so grateful for, because I feel like a lot of families, like, they don't even teach you about that.
Yeah. I wasn't even told to like save or invest. I wasn't told like anything about personal finance growing up. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't even thinking about it, period. What would you say is your biggest money win or the best thing that you did with your money?
So my biggest money win, as cliche as it sounds, I would say is investing in myself. Biggest reason is because by investing myself through like books and like other courses and stuff that I've taken on the side, I was able to relate with more successful people because they also had that mindset as well. They either read the same books or they just operate using those principles. So by learning to understand that language, I was able to get myself into doors with more successful people. So by being around successful people, I was forced to upgrade my standards, because a lot of people talk about, hey, how can I get into those doors? But a lot of people don't talk about how can I stay in those doors, right? Getting in is one thing, but you have to stay in those doors, right? And in order for you to stay in those doors around those successful people, you have to upgrade your standards as well and be a high performer as well. So I think that was my biggest money win. And it took a long time, but I'm finally seeing the fruits of those investments now.
What would you say is the best investment vehicle available to Canadians and why?
Okay, no bias. Okay, listen, like I'm a real estate agent. I'm not even saying this because I'm a real estate agent, but I genuinely believe that the best investment vehicle that's easiest and something that you can actually use and live in is buying a property. Obviously, every single property is not a great investment for Canadians specifically, especially for markets like the GTA, primarily because there's no other asset that goes up just as much that you can also live in as well, right? And with the high rents you're paying right now, you might as well buy a house that's also going to appreciate. It's also something that's going to get paid down eventually that you do not have to make any monthly payments on. Obviously, like property taxes and all that stuff too, but besides that, like, yeah, you don't have a mortgage eventually.
How much of your income do you think is the right amount that people should save or invest on a monthly basis?
So I would say out of every single paycheck that you make, put away at least 10% for savings and at least 10% into some sort of investment.
So what do you know, or how much do you know about the stock market?
I know enough not to put in all your money into one stock, unless you really know that stock and you've been studying this stock. I know not to listen to other people's advice on the stock market, because once again, you need to know what you're putting your money into. Otherwise, if you don't know what you're putting your money into, you're literally just gambling. I know there's safer assets like the S&P 500.
Basically, the S&P 500, anyone can buy the S&P 500 index, and that's actually what Warren Buffett tells the average person to do. And that has historically compounded at 8% a year. So you can basically buy the same S&P 500 index ETF over and over, and you basically get the best 500 companies in the world that are automatically selected for you based on profitability and revenue. And you're getting 8% a year. And you don't really have to think about it.
And that beats inflation.
So the best way to do this with Canadian dollars is by VFV. And the best way to do this with US dollars is to buy VOO. Have you opened any of the tax sheltered savings or investment accounts that we have here in Canada, like the TFSA, RRSP, and FHSA?
Yes, so I personally have a TFSA and I have an RRSP.
Do you have an emergency fund?
Yes.
How many months worth of expenses would you say is in your emergency fund?
So I actually had to rebuild mine, so I only have 3 months.
That's pretty good. Most people have nothing. So do you have a financial goal, and how do you plan on achieving it?
Yes, I do have a financial goal. So the way that I have currently planned to achieve it is I basically hired a coach and I have 2 accountability buddies who are also part of my team at Synergy Real Estate. Yeah, they basically tell me my numbers, what I need to achieve for the quarter, and we've been checking it off.